It's been over 3 decades since Akira Toriyama first introduced readers to the world of Dragon Ball. You'd think it would have fizzled out by now, but with a new TV series being made and the original author once again involved in the creative process, the long-running franchise is as popular as ever. This is something that I have no problem with, especially considering how well last year's Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods turned out. As a longtime fan, I was amazed at how this new chapter managed to breathe new life into the world and its characters while reminding us why we fell in love with them in the first place. A large part of the appeal came from the gorgeous animation, which was more fluid than anything we'd seen from the series up to that point. Sure, there were issues, like Emperor Pilaf's annoying antics, and Vegeta, my favorite character.
You are a fool! I am going to crush you and throw you into the wind!
Being reduced to this.
Let's go, play-o, let's be friends-o, fun-time bingo!
But ultimately, it was a satisfying new chapter in the story, proving that Dragon Ball Z can still be awesome. Now we have the sequel, Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F. For those who don't know, the F stands for Frieza. So why didn't they just call it Resurrection of Frieza? Well, because it's Japanese. It's better if you don't question it and just enjoy the great content that they give you. First, a little backstory. Frieza was a galactic overlord who ruled over numerous planets with an iron fist until being defeated by our Super Saiyan hero, Goku. I realize that there's more to it than that, but if I go into a full explanation, we'll be here all day. Trust me, their fight in the original series lasted 4 hours. Anyway, several years have passed since then. Goku, Vegeta, and the other Z fighters continue to train and live their lives in peace. One day, the remnants of Frieza's army come to Earth, gather the mystical Dragon Balls, and wish for the eternal dragon to bring the evil tyrant back to life. Upon his resurrection, Frieza vows to become stronger and exact his revenge on the one responsible for his death. Now, when I first heard that they were bringing Frieza back, I thought, really? He's been brought back so many times that the impact has been completely lost. When he first showed up, his ominous presence and sadistic personality were fairly effective. However, after being defeated again, and again, and again, and again, he essentially devolved into a joke. Then I started to think about it a bit more. Maybe that's why he's the villain here. The creators wanted to restore his credibility and sense of menace. If that's the case, then for the most part, they succeeded. Frieza hasn't been this threatening in years.
Go on, channel that Super Saiyan glow I hate so much.
He's a force to be reckoned with, and the coldly narcissistic performance by Chris Ayers is pretty effective. But I have to admit, it took some time for me to get used to this version of the character when I've preferred Linda Young's portrayal for years.
That's just the sort of small-minded drivel that makes your existence so intolerable.
To be clear, I'm referring to the early days, back when her performance was raspier, calculating, and more intimidating.
How can I make this even more painful for you? I could crush your hands, rip off both of your ears, or maybe I'll just smash in your tiny little cranium.
You know, before it went into screaming old lady territory.
You miserable Saiyan!
That's not to say that it's a completely new cast. In addition to the newer players, there are many veteran actors who all do a great job of stepping back into their respective characters, and the interactions between said characters are as enjoyable as ever. Sean Schemmel is both heroic and charmingly childlike as Goku. Christopher Sabat brings plenty of prideful intensity to Vegeta and a sharp sense of experience to Piccolo. Sonny Strait employs a humorous sarcasm for Krillin. Kyle Hebert is youthfully enthusiastic as Gohan, though some fans might be angry that he's still a dork.
You're a bit of a nerd, aren't you? Well, maybe. Yeah.
John Bergmeyer's tough stoicism works well for Tien. Mike McFarland lends a likable lunacy to Master Roshi. Monica Rial is appropriately feisty as Bulma. Jason Douglas and Ian Sinclair still play well off of each other as the laid-back Beerus and the effeminate Whis, respectively. And Todd Haberkorn is hilariously klutzy as Jocko the Galactic Patrolman. a character from another Toriyama series. Speaking of which, Toriyama himself wrote the screenplay for this, and it shows. While there are certainly plenty of dramatic moments, the writer's trademark sense of humor permeates the whole piece. It's a style that will undoubtedly feel very familiar to fans. The same can be said for the story itself. It's basic, but it gives longtime viewers what they've come to expect: fighting. Unfortunately, this is also one of its biggest problems. It doesn't really add much to the franchise as a whole. Battle of Gods had its shortcomings, but it changed the Dragon Ball series, opening up a whole new frontier involving gods and other universes. This one, on the other hand, is fairly conventional, following a similar formula to many of the other DBZ movies. A new villain arrives on the scene, the heroes fight him, and it's ultimately Goku who saves the day. This story is admittedly done well here, but some fans may be expecting a bit more at this point. Further narrative issues come in the first act. On top of containing a few scenes that could have been saved for the extended cut, the movie really forces you to suspend your disbelief. Not only do the Z Fighters do absolutely nothing when they sense that something bad is going on,
here's your sign,
but you expect me to believe that Frieza, who has never trained in his life, can match Goku's power level in just a few months? On the upside, once the story gets going, it is pretty exciting. The fight scenes are well staged and large in scope. More of the characters get in on the action, showing off some of the iconic techniques that we know and love. Seeing guys like Piccolo and Tien finally get something to do was oh so satisfying. Part of that satisfaction can be attributed to the exemplary animation. The movements are exceedingly smooth. This is definitely the best looking DBZ flick to date. In addition to the traditional 2D animation, the action scenes also make use of CG models for the combatants. This allows for all kinds of exhilarating angles and dynamic camera work that make these battles a joy to watch. In conjunction, even though the familiar tracks of Bruce Faulconer are nowhere to be heard, Norihito Sumitomo, I'm sorry if I got his name wrong, comes up with an ominous musical score that really hammers home the epic scope of the action. In the end, Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F takes some time to find its feet and may be a little too familiar for some, but it makes up for these flaws with appealing characters, confident voice work, outstanding animation, amusingly oddball humor, and a return to form for one of the franchise's most memorable villains. I have to say though, if you are planning on seeing this, I recommend doing it sooner rather than later, since it's not exactly going to be in theaters for long. Thanks for watching, feel free to like, subscribe, and/or comment. Until next time.